The deck was full of people holding wine glasses when I walked up the steps of my own house. My name is Diane Kessler. I'm 54 years old, and for 31 years my family treated me like a woman who wouldn't notice what was being taken from her. There were maybe 40 guests out on the waterside. Paper lanterns strung between the posts my father had set in 1971. A caterer in a white shirt circling with a tray. And standing at the rail in a green sundress, laughing with her hand on my husband's forearm, was a 29-year-old named Bryn Ostrander, who had been sleeping in my bed for 8 months. Grant saw me. His face did something complicated, and then settled into charm. "Diane," he said, loud enough for the deck to hear, "you weren't invited." I checked my watch. 3:51. "I know," I said. "I came anyway." His mother turned from the buffet table with a shrimp in her fingers and said the sentence she'd been saying about me since 1994. "Grant, don't engage, she doesn't understand these things." And I remember thinking, very calmly, the way you'd note that a pot was about to boil. "In 9 minutes, all of you are going to understand. Welcome back to Cherry Revenge Tales. If stories of quiet strength and calm justice are why you're here, take a second to subscribe and turn on the bell so the next one finds you. And before we begin, tell me in the comments where in the world you're watching from. Now let me take you back to where this all started. Sunday dinner at Patricia's house in Wellesley. Grant's mother had hosted the same dinner every month for 3 decades, and for 3 decades I had brought the same green bean dish, because the one time I brought something else, she'd asked the table if anyone knew what it was supposed to be. Grant sat at the head, 40 pounds heavier than the man I married, and twice as certain of himself. His sister Colleen was to his right, talking about her husband's promotion. And in the seat I had used for 11 years, the seat with the good view of the garden, was Bryn. Nobody explained her. That was the point. You don't explain furniture. "Bryn's in acquisitions," Colleen said brightly. "She's been such a help with the marina refinance." "Marinas are complicated," Bryn said, and smiled at me the way you smile at a dog you're not sure about. "It's a lot of documentation." "Diane wouldn't know," Patricia said, passing the rolls past me. "Diane was a school secretary when Grant found her." "Office manager," I said. "At a middle school, dear." Grant laughed into his wine. "Mom." "I'm being kind. She's very organized. She used to organize my church bulletins." Patricia turned to Bryn with real warmth. The warmth she'd never once aimed at me. "You should see the lake place. It's wasted on us. Grant's father used to say a house like that needs someone with taste." "My father built that house. He poured the footings himself the summer my mother was pregnant with me." Patricia had been saying Grant's lake place for so long that everyone at the table believed it, including, I think, Grant. I said, "It does need work. The east wall takes water." "See?" Patricia said. "Practical. That's her gift." I ate my green beans. I complimented Colleen's earrings. And when Bryn said she was thinking of opening the space up and doing something about the very dated stonework in the fireplace, I said that sounded lovely, and I meant nothing at all by it, and nobody noticed that I had stopped speaking for the rest of the meal. 2 days later, Grant came to the condo in Newton where I'd been living since March. He didn't sit. He put a blue folder on the counter and slid it toward me with 2 fingers, the way he'd slid dinner checks at waiters for 30 years. "Quitclaim," he said. "Simple document. You sign, the lake house goes into the LLC, and the refinance closes Friday. It's a formality, Diane. My name's been on the taxes for years." "You paid the taxes out of our joint account," I said. "That's my money, too." "Don't be small." He rubbed his eyes. "I'm trying to keep the marina solvent. There are 9 employees. You want to be the reason 9 people lose their jobs?" "I want to understand why you need my house." "Our house." "My father's house." His jaw moved, And then he tried the other tone, the soft one, the one that used to work. Di, come on. You've got the condo, you've got the pension. Nobody's throwing you out on the street. You'll be fine, you're always fine, that's who you are. He tapped the folder. But if you fight me on this, my attorney's going to go through every dollar you've spent since 1995, and it's going to be humiliating for you, and I don't want that. I'm giving you the dignified exit. There it was. I looked at the folder. I looked at the man I'd nursed through a kidney stone and 2 funerals. I'll read it, I said. There's nothing to read. Then it won't take long. He left it on the counter. And at 11 that night I sat under the kitchen light with a magnifying glass my father had owned, and I found what I was looking for on page 4. A signature. My signature on a home equity line drawn against the lake house in November. Dated a week I had spent in Cleveland with my sister after her hip surgery. It wasn't my handwriting. It wasn't even close. I photographed every page. Then I called a woman named Renata Silva, who had been 2 years behind me in high school, and was now a real estate attorney in Concord, and I said, Renata, I need you to pull a deed and tell me exactly what I own. She called back in 40 minutes. She was laughing, but not in a kind way. Diane, honey, he's been telling people he owns that property? For 20 years. Diane, it's not in his name, it's not in a marital trust, it's not even jointly held. Your father deeded it to you alone in 2003, and it has never moved. Grant has no interest in it whatsoever. A pause. Who signed that home equity application? That's the other thing I wanted to talk to you about. He came back Thursday for the signature. I made coffee, I set out the good cups, and I said, No. He blinked, like the word was in a foreign language. No? I'm not signing it, and I'd like the second set of keys back. That's when it stopped being a conversation. He called me a stone. He called me a small, frightened, small-town woman who had spent her life being carried. He said Bryn understood the business in 6 months better than I had in 3 decades. He said, and this is the sentence I want you to hold on to. You've never in your life been the person who matters in a room, Diane. And you're not going to start now. I didn't raise my voice. I have never once in my life won anything by raising my voice. You should go, I said. He knocked the cup off the counter on his way out. I swept it up myself because that's what I do. And then I sat down and made a list, and the list had 3 things on it. Then Colleen posted the invitation online. Housewarming at the lake. Come celebrate Grant and Bryn's new chapter. Saturday, 4 o'clock. Investors, the marina's lender, Patricia's whole church circle. Photos of my father's fireplace with the stonework already half torn out. I called Renata and said, Saturday, 4 o'clock. Bring everything. She said, You understand what this is going to do to him. I understand what he did to the wall. Let me tell you what I looked like, because I want you to picture her clearly, the woman walking up those steps. 54. Tall, narrow through the shoulders, the kind of build people call sturdy when they can't think of a compliment. Dark auburn hair gone silver at the temples, pulled back into a low twist at the base of my neck. Fair skin, freckles across the nose from a lifetime on that water. Lines at the eyes I've earned. And I had dressed carefully, because I knew there would be photographs. A charcoal gray wool blazer, single-breasted, sharp at the shoulder. A cream silk blouse buttoned to the collar. Navy trousers, low black heels that wouldn't sink between the deck boards. My mother's pearl studs. A slim steel smartwatch on my left wrist. And under my arm, a burgundy leather folio worn soft at the corners that had belonged to my father. In the car, before I got out, I pressed and held the crown of the watch until it buzzed once against my wrist, and the little red dot appeared, and the timer started counting up from 0. Voice memo, recording. Massachusetts is a 2-party state. Renata had told me exactly what that meant, and exactly where the line was. She had also told me that a deck full of 40 guests on my own property with catering staff and a hired photographer is not a private conversation. I said quietly for the record, Diane Kessler, Saturday, August 9th, 3:44 p.m. Then I walked up the steps of my own house. You weren't invited. I know, I came anyway. Bryn's hand slid off his arm. Patricia said her line about me not understanding these things, and a few people laughed and the caterer stopped moving. I set the folio on the buffet table next to the shrimp. Grant, I said. I want to make sure I have this right in front of everyone so there's no confusion later. You've told these people you own this house. I do own this house. Say it again. I own this house. He spread his arms to the deck, playing to them, and God help him, they were still with him. 22 years of taxes, insurance, the new roof. And the home equity line you took out against it in November. $240,000. You signed that yourself? Something flickered. My wife signed it. Your wife was in Cleveland. Diane. Say it on the record, Grant. Did I sign that document? You authorized it, he said. Too fast. Too loud. You knew. You always know, you sit there and you know things and you say nothing. That's your whole... He caught himself. 40 people had gone silent. This is a party. It's my party, I said. It's my deck. Bryn laughed one sharp note. Oh my God, is she serious? Grant, tell her. She turned to the guests like a host. The deed's in the LLC. It's been in the LLC since so. It has never been in the LLC, I said, 358. It has never been in a trust. It has never been jointly held, and it has never had my husband's name on it. My father deeded this property to me alone in 2003. I opened the folio. Page 1, certified copy from the county registry, pulled Tuesday. Page 2, the tax card. Page 3 is the home equity application, with a signature on it that is not mine. Nobody took the papers. Patricia took a step back from the buffet. Diane, Grant said, and his voice had changed pitch entirely. Let's go inside. No. Let's go inside. There are 9 employees, I said. You told me that. There are also 2 federal counts my attorney mentioned. And a mortgage broker at the end of this deck who I believe funded that line. A man in a blue quarter zip near the rail put his drink down on the post, very slowly. Like it might go off. 2 people came up the steps. Renata Silva in a black suit, briefcase, reading glasses pushed up into her hair. And behind her, a county civil deputy. Heavyset, bored, holding a clipboard and a roll of tape. A man who had done this 200 times, and would do it twice more before dinner. Diane Kessler, he said. That's me. Ma'am, I'm serving a notice of trespass and a no-contact order on the premises, and posting the property. You'll want to identify the individual. I pointed. My husband, Grant Kessler, and Bryn Ostrander, whose belongings are in the upstairs bedroom. The deputy didn't look up from his clipboard. Mr. Kessler, this notice requires you to vacate. You've got a reasonable window to collect personal property, supervised. Anything belonging to the residence stays. He glanced at the gutted fireplace through the open door and made a small note. There's also a citation here regarding unpermitted structural alteration. That's a separate matter with the town. Renata handed Grant an envelope. She said it flatly, the way you read a grocery list. Mr. Kessler, you're also receiving notice of a civil action for fraudulent conveyance and forgery. Copies have gone to your lender and to the State Banking Commission this morning. I'd advise you not to say anything else out here. He said something else out there. He said, Bryn signed it. The sound Bryn made was not a word. She stepped back from him so fast she knocked over a paper lantern. I signed, Grant, you brought me the form, you told me she'd agreed, and then to the deck, to strangers. He told me she agreed, he told me the divorce was final in March. You knew what you were doing. You said you owned it. Patricia's plate hit the deck boards and broke in two. She was gripping the buffet table with both hands and her mouth was open and nothing was coming out of it. And Colleen was saying, "Mom, Mom, Mom." And the man in the blue quarter zip was already at the bottom of the steps with his phone to his ear, saying the words, "Pull the file." The photographer, God bless her, kept shooting. Grant turned to me, 61 years old, wine on his shirt, his mother's plate in pieces at his feet. And he said the thing they always say. "Diane, please, after everything, think about what you're doing to this family." I closed the folio. "Grant," I said, "you told me I've never been the person who matters in a room." I put my father's keys on the buffet table, the ones that had never left my purse. "Leave those on the counter when you go. The help locks up." "I'd like to tell you something before you go. They didn't underestimate me because I was weak. They underestimated me because I was quiet, and because for 31 years I let being agreeable stand in for being safe. That's the trade so many of us make. We keep the peace and we call it love, and the whole time the paperwork is sitting in a drawer, telling the truth to nobody. So here's what I want you to take with you. Know what is yours, not out of suspicion, out of self-respect. Read the document, keep the copy. Say the word no once, plainly, without decorating it. You don't owe anyone an explanation for refusing to hand over your own life. And when someone tells you that you don't understand these things, believe me, you understand them better than they ever will. If this one landed with you, give it a like and subscribe so the next story finds you. I'll see you there.